At the Shanghai Cooperation Organization or SCO summit in Tianjin in China, three leaders drew global attention. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Russia's President Vladimir Putin, and China's President Xi Jinping. Their brief exchange, marked by smiles, handshakes, and even a shared laugh, might have looked like standard summit protocol. But this carefully observed moment between India, Russia, and China carried signals far beyond that conference hall. Because behind the smiles lies a story about shifting alliances, strained ties with the United States of America, and an evolving balance of power in Asia. Now let's unpack what really happened here. Why this rare moment of warmth among three global heavyweights matters, and what message, intentional or not, it sends to the rest of the world, especially the United States of America. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or SCO, is the Eurasian Political, Security and Economic Bloc. And among the 10 member states, the spotlight quickly shifted to the so-called RIC Troika, Russia, India, China Troika. Three countries that don't always get along, but when they do, the world pays attention. So here's what everyone's talking about. Prime Minister Modi, President Putin and President Xi Jinping standing together, smiling, even laughing. Prime Minister Modi posts about it on social media platform X, saying he's exchanging perspectives with the two leaders. But let's pause here. Why does this matter? Because optics in diplomacy is not just about politeness, it's about power. Every smile, every handshake, every lingering glance is carefully scrutinized. And in this case, the timing could not be more important. Here's why. Relations between India and the US have been a little tense lately. The Trump administration slapped tariffs on India, partly because of New Delhi's continued purchase of Russian oil. So when Modi strolls hand in hand with Putin, then joins Xi Jinping for a laugh, the message is loud and clear. It's India saying, we're not backing down. We still have friends, and we're not going to let Washington dictate all our relationships. Now, this is not just about Russia. Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping of China met separately on the sidelines of the summit. And that meeting is a huge deal because relations between India and China have been pretty rocky since the deadly border clashes in Ladakh back in 2020. At Tianjin, the two leaders agreed to work toward a fair, reasonable, mutually acceptable solution to their boundary dispute. They also pledged to expand trade ties. Prime Minister Modi framed it as cooperation for 2.8 billion people. Essentially a reminder that together, India and China represent more than a third of humanity.
हमारे सहयोग से दोनों देशों के 2.8 बिलियन लोगों के हित जुड़े हुए हैं। इससे पूरी मानवता के कल्याण का मार्ग भी प्रशस्त होगा.
And Xi Jinping was not just speaking to Prime Minister Modi. During his main address at the summit, he took aim at what he called bullying behavior in the global order. He urged the group to reject Cold War mentalities, oppose external interference, and strengthen South-South cooperation. Now, if I translate that, it was a not-so-subtle swipe at the United States and its allies.
We uphold fairness and justice, promote a correct understanding of World War II history, and oppose Cold War thinking, block confrontation, and acts of bullying.
Xi Jinping also bragged about China's trade with SCO countries, saying it's hit $2.3 trillion, and he positioned the Belt and Road Initiative as a unifying project for the bloc. So, in other words, Xi Jinping was doubling down on China's role as the anchor of this Eurasian grouping. India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri later clarified that Prime Minister Modi told Xi Jinping that border peace is like an insurance policy for ties where without stability you can't build trust. Prime Minister Modi also raised the issue of cross-border terrorism, something Beijing usually avoids criticizing because of its ties with Pakistan. But India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri suggested that China showed understanding and cooperation on that point. So, is this the beginning of a reset or just polite language at a summit table? Then there's Russia. Prime Minister Modi held talks with Vladimir Putin too. As both the leaders talked on Ukraine, Prime Minister Modi said that he welcomed any efforts towards peace and he urged constructive steps to end the conflict. Prime Minister Modi also highlighted energy ties, reminding everyone that India continues to buy Russian oil despite US sanctions. And he invited President Putin to India in December for their 23rd annual summit. According to Modi, 1.4 billion Indians are eagerly waiting for him. Xi Jinping, for his part, told Prime Minister Modi that India and China are civilizational neighbors and need to act like it. He used an interesting metaphor, the dragon and the elephant coming together. So, let's at this stage zoom out. Why is this moment, a laugh, a handshake, a walk together, creating headlines? Because it highlights a shifting world order. The US is no longer the sole power broker. The global south is finding its voice. And countries like India, Russia, and China are trying to show that they have options outside the Western orbit. But it's complicated. India may be cozying up to Russia and patching things up with China, but it's also part of the Quad alliance with the US, Japan, and Australia. So, is India hedging its bets, playing both sides, or carefully balancing? Probably a bit of all three. At the end of the day, the SCO summit in Tianjin gave us a rare tableau. Modi, Putin, and Xi, shoulder to shoulder. For Washington, it's a reminder that pressure campaigns don't always work. For the SCO, it's a show of unity in an increasingly divided world. And for the rest of us, it's a glimpse into how alliances are being reshaped in real time.